boys and girls, we're going to be jumping into is it a good time to buy, sell, or hold your vinyl? I'd say this year, vinyl it hit a low and it's climbing back up. I'm using eBay Therapy to investigate this. It's really a great if you're a eBay store owner like us at Fading Petals. Our store links in the description. It's a great way to evaluate different trends. And vinyl has had a super interesting year. It's been pretty rocky, pretty bumpy, but it's hit bottom, folks. And so now it's a good time for collectors trading up, or earlier this year I was buying, but now it's just mostly trading and trading up. So and selling off a bit. So looking at this year, we're going to look at format, filter. I've got fixed price, and we're going to look at rock first. So how did rock do? Now, earlier in this year, you can see last November, December, really good years. And then we started having some selling off. You can't see it too much here, but it was in January, February, March, some bumps in higher sales and some decrease in the average sold price. So, but you can see that with those sales, they're actually gobbled up by the consumers, and then that led to a little bit of a glut. So you can't see it too much in this one, but you'll see it maybe in some of the other analysis I've did. Really, this year it's been good. Vinyl is starting to cool down with instead of last year where it was really going down. With I would say once it got past the inflation glut. So looking at some of the top sales, you had the executives cover for the Lonely Hearts Club Band. I've never even heard of that about that till now. So I guess there was the Capitol executives got their faces onto the cover, which is just absolutely wild. So definitely, if that ever stumbles up, yeah, that's extremely expensive. I think this one was a fake bid though, or a fake buy, hard to say. But also, yeah, please me. That's about right. If it's like near mint or VG plus, right? Something like that, EX, it could definitely fetch a price like that. I'll scroll down here so you folks can see that, there's some pretty cool stuff. I'm not sure why that Motley Crue is so expensive, but you start to see Nico on, look at that, unpeeled, mint, yeah, third state sealed. I mean, some pretty cool stuff. Not a lot of signatures. I mean, that just means that, it's just the vinyl rarity itself that really drives a lot of value here. So we'll move on to jazz. The jazz, it's a funny one, folks, because I always joke that, I slow sell my jazz. I sell all the jazz fixed price. I don't auction, and that really cost me because auctions are how you usually command top dollar in jazz. Because jazz listeners, believe it or not, they they pay what the market's willing to pay. So they often, when pushed with an auction, the value of other people helps to value their collection. I don't even know if I'm making sense, um, but I'll go with slow sale here just because you have so many fake bids out there and stuff. And you can see here, jazz has stayed pretty consistent, but you can see maybe some of the dropping here, some of the dropping values, but jazz is usually all over the map just because it's so hot and cold with whatever gets sold. So you have Sonny Clark here, cool strut, and I mean that is a super rare record. And yeah, I mean, when you go and look, I mean, they're expensive and they usually don't get sold on Discogs. So often you have that. It's just eBay is just such a good way to command the sale of some of the higher priced albums. You just got to get it in front of more people. And eBay and Discogs, I believe they go back and forth with how many people are actually spending money for records on their platforms. Generally, I sell on eBay, and I could buy on Discogs for about 15% less. So that says quite a bit. So I'm just scrolling down here, folks. You can start to see a lot of Lee Morgan, John Coltrane. I have this Lou Donaldson Sunny Side Up, and I have it. It's superb. That'll be coming up to my store soon enough, folks. I'll definitely have to put it. You can see that Jazz loves to do here because eye grading Jazz is just nearly impossible. A lot of people think that jazz listeners are really anal, and some of them are. But the truth is, you could have a scratched up copy of Ozzy Osbourne. That don't matter, right? Ozzy's gonna sound great, um, but you have a scratched up copy of John Coltrane, and it's like you're trying to listen through it through a bonfire. So moving on over to heavy metal. Heavy metal, you can see some of that sell off here, some of that dropping price, but the market did recover nicely, and that's real good. So I mean, we're looking at a pretty solid year, and people generally slow down in the summer times, and we didn't really necessarily see that too much this year. So I think we're about to go into a nice November, December, and January for sales again. Once people start getting back into their houses, that's when they start listening to their vinyl again and growing their collections instead of going out in the snow. A lot of vinyl you can see with you can get some signatures and stuff and metal, like how much value does can you actually get, how rare does it get, and there's some great stuff in here, but generally, I mean, it's not going to fetch as much as 1950s jazz does. And that's just because of the time period and how many pressings were made and such, not how good the music actually is. So, no judgment on Metallica. I just love this. I mean, 20,000 plus records for 3,000, so 15 cents each. I mean, you probably have to go pick them up in the middle of nowhere, but that would be so worth it. Got to keep an eye on those folks. All right, now jumping right over. We're going to. This is giving me grief. I have a little box that you can't see, but we'll switch on over to pop. And in 2023, I mean, who owned pop but Taylor Swift? And you see it here. I mean, pop does its own charts and trends and lines, but actually a huge it's a huge genre here on eBay. I mean, it's like number 3 in sales, and here Taylor Swift. I mean, I almost don't want to believe it, but I totally believe that there was some extremely high sales in the Taylor Swift mania, and you might even say that sales might even follow the Taylor Swift mania. I mean, it was just out of this world. So some people buying instant collections here. I could see it. I could see it. So uh, quite fascinating here with the pop section. And then moving over to country. Country, you wouldn't think country is a big genre, but it is, folks. It's like the fourth on the list right behind. So country had a pretty good year, just really solid, and I expect that we'll see a peak again this year in October, November, December. Now, the funny thing about country is you scroll down to country and all you see is big lots and Taylor Swift's. You see this guy's collection. I mean, um, so a lot of things that were probably accidentally posted in country. Uh, but if you're a country fan, I mean, there's some fun stuff. I saw Waylon Jennings up here. Here's David Allen Coe, Nothing Sacred, and Underground album. So these weren't recommended for airplay because they were absolutely filthy. And I mean, I had one a couple years ago, and I listened to it once, and I never played it again because I mean, you cannot play these around children, and I got a bunch of them, folks. So, but they would only sell them at the concerts, so pretty unique stuff. And with that, my final thing is you can buy, sell, trade, do whatever you want because right now, vinyl it definitely got past the bottom, and it's about to be in for another good year. So it's a good time probably to start getting ready to sell the ones you don't like so you can buy the ones you like. That's it. I'm out.